Hello everyone, today let's jump into some PlayStation 2 emulation. There are a lot of amazing PlayStation 2 games. I think in my opinion the PlayStation 2 is probably the best console there's ever been. There's an infinite amount of great games for the PlayStation 2. Today I'm going to share with you just a few that I like, but due to the sheer number of amazing PlayStation games, there will definitely be more episodes in this series in the future. First of all, jumping into the Simpsons Hit and Run, an absolute classic. The game runs really well, with the frame rate usually around 60 and sometimes dropping to around 45, but not in a way that's too noticeable. The game always seems smooth and nice to play. I've also noted that it runs even smoother on GameCube emulation, so if you want to play this game in particular, I would actually recommend playing it on GameCube. Next up we have an absolute classic, WWE Smackdown, Here Comes the Pain. And we're going to have an extremely fair fight of Goldberg versus Rico. I haven't played this game in around 20 years. I've also brought the controls up here so I can figure out what to do. Okay, getting into the game, it looks like we're around 50 frames per second. By the way, I should mention at this point that all of these tests are being done at 3 times resolution. And because so far in both games we're hovering around 50 frames per second, let's bump that down to 2 times. I just kicked him out of the ring. Looking at the control scheme here, I don't see a way to actually do moves other than just strike attack. Run, Irish whip, and counter. How do I just do moves? I think maybe we're running the PAL version of the game where 50 frames per second is the maximum, because this is buttery smooth, and even if I lower down the resolution scaling, I cannot go above 50. So I feel that 50 is the maximum we're working with here. And to test the limit, let's go to 5 times native. Now on 5 times native, seems like we're still okay, 49 frames per second. Going up to 8 times native, now we're slowing down to 33 frames per second. But at least in this game, it seems like a 5 times multiplier is completely playable. Now back to the 5 times scaling, and once again, we have that smooth 50 frames per second. Ooh, take that. Oh, here we go. We're gonna hit him with the spear. Ooh, I nearly broke him in half. Now let's finish this off with the jackhammer. Ooh, this game is amazing. It holds up so well over the years. He kicked out? What? Oh, this game is really fun. How's Rico kicking out of 2 Goldberg finishers? Oh, this game is just as fun as it was 20 years ago. If you haven't played this game in a while, or if you've never played it, I highly recommend this game. It's really fun. 1, 2, 3. Thank God. Next up we have PES 2013, Pro Evolution Soccer, and this one actually lets you choose between PAL or NTSC. When using NTSC, we get 60 frames per second, but we also get a slight white bar along the bottom of the screen. But anyway, for this game, let's test 60 frames per second. Once again, we'll play a very fair matchup. My team Arsenal against Motherwell. For the longest time, I've been playing football games on Xbox rather than PlayStation, so I'm not really sure which button is shoot and which button is cross. Okay, that's not shoot. Let's look at the frames per second. It feels incredibly smooth. Because this is an older football game, it's a little bit more arcadey than the simulators we have today. It actually feels smoother than the modern games. I'm not sure what button to press to run, so I'm a little bit slow. There's a jump button in this game. Jump when tackled. I don't think that's in modern games. Feint, 1-2 pass, Matthews feint, a running Matthews feint, a flip-flap, a reverse flip-flap. I just want to run. Oh, here's Arteta. He's the current manager of Arsenal in real life. This is back in his playing days. I really like this device for playing football games. Yesterday I was streaming EA Sports 25 on Game Pass. That's something that I'll make a follow-up video about soon. It was glorious. I really hope we can get some EA Sports FC games working on here natively without using Game Pass. That's something I'll continue to work on. I downloaded the most recent EA FC game, but it just crashes on startup. So I'm going to try some of the slightly older ones. Has to be. Oh! I refuse to stop playing until I score a goal. Get him! Uh-oh. I don't know which button is dive, so I'm going to push both sticks. Oh. Dive was not necessary. I will say, of all the game tests I've done so far on this device for YouTube, this has been by far the most fun video for me. WWE, Simpsons, PES, every game is just a banger. Oh, and if you're curious, we're running this at a 5 times native resolution. Jovino, famous for his forehead. Go Jovino! Oh, what a goal! Oh, we're suddenly lagging. The game can't handle that forehead size. So in conclusion, this game works absolutely flawlessly at 5 times native resolution, unless it's trying to display a giant forehead. Next up we have Ridge Racer. I remember playing this at an arcade machine when I was a kid, so I'm excited to see how it runs on a small handheld device. This one we can run at a 3x resolution, but at 5x it slows down a little bit. At a 3x native resolution it looks fantastic. Next up we have Sly Cooper, a notoriously difficult game to run. At a 3x native resolution, we're getting around 50 frames per second, but it jumps all over the place. If you see the frame per second counter, it goes from 50 to 40 to 38 to 55. It's very inconsistent. I've never played this game before, and the character moves really slowly. I feel like that might be the correct behavior because it is a game about sneaking around, but it just feels like it's running very slow. But everything's smooth and the frame rate's good, so it's very confusing. Anybody who's familiar with the Sly Cooper franchise, please let me know if it is meant to feel very slow. See how even jumping is in slow motion? I feel like that cannot be right. So I'm not sure if it's meant to run this slowly or if there's a problem. If running this slowly is the correct behavior, then it's running well. If it's meant to be much quicker than this, then obviously something is wrong. So I do need to test this further, but it looks great and it feels smooth. This next game I'm very excited about because I saw a video yesterday claiming this is the worst game ever created. It is Mr. Bean the animated game. And look at his face. I was a fan of the Mr. Bean animated series. I can't even speak, this is so stupid. I was a fan of the Mr. Bean animated series. I thought it was funny. Obviously it's not nearly as good as the live action series because that's amazing, but I still thought it was funny. If you ever want to see Teddy in one piece again, bring me 750 cat biscuits. And it looks like I've got 3 teddies, like they're my lives. What is this game? I love the running animation. So the frame rate is about 25 frames per second, quite low compared to other games. We're running at a 3x native resolution. I'm going to bump it down to a 1x resolution just to see how it runs. So we're now at 1x. It looks a lot worse, but it feels smoother. It looks a lot worse and the frame rate is the same. So I feel like 26 frames per second is just what the game runs at. Back to 3x native resolution. Everything looks really good at this resolution. And let's carry on with the game. I guess it's just a 25 frame per second game. You can push or pull a crate by grabbing it. Okay, how do I grab it? By just shoving my hands right through it, apparently. This is a bad game. We entered a new area and we're now running at around 14 frames per second with a little mole friend jumping around who hurts us and we lose a bit of our teddy. So we're going to have to drop the resolution down because apparently while all the other games we tested worked fine at 3 to 5x native resolution, Mr. Bean is just too demanding of a title. I've moved it down to 2x and it's still not really very smooth. Moving down to 1x native resolution, we now have our smooth gameplay back. So of all the games tested in this video, they could all run at 3 to 5x native resolution, except Mr. Bean, which has to run at 1x. This game's pretty much just a 3D Mario game. I see no difference between this and Super Mario 64. Both masterpieces. I'm curious what it sounds like. Not very good. So the Mr. Bean game, I will give it 2 3/4 teddies out of 3 teddies. And I think this is as good a time as any to put the console away for a while. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful. Please leave me a like and a comment. If you're not subscribed, I'd love it if you subscribed. And I'll see you again tomorrow for another video about the Retroid Pocket 5. Thank you for watching.